What's happening, everyone? Francesco here with Sotheby's. What's going on with the market? Keep getting asked the same question month over month, day over day, whenever I'm in the community or just, plugging away, doing what I got to do. I always get asked, what do you feel about the market? Well, I feel the market's okay, actually. And the reason for that is we're in a not balanced market. Actually, obviously it's a buyer's market. We're out of the delusion of what happened 5 years ago, where everything skyrocketed. And I feel that the prices are more realistic, for lack of a better word. They're realistic. You keep watching the news, and I tell everybody, stop watching the news. All they do is negative, negative, negative. And the world is in a negative state right now. And get that out of your head. Stop watching it. It's just going to drive you insane. And this is the reason for me saying that is stop watching the news is real estate's an investment. It's a more secure, stable investment, but with investments, there's never zero risk. Real estate is unlike, anything else. But the difference between a real estate investment, which is your home, and a stock, which is, numbers in the air, real estate's tangible. So what do I tell people? You buy your house to live in. It doesn't matter what you paid for it. As long as you can afford the payments and you're in a good spot with your job and everything, real estate's a good investment because you're not going to flip it in a year or two. And if that's your intent, then it's not a good market to do that, no. But if you're going to buy a home for your family, for instance, or your first home buyers, first condo buyers, or whatever you're going to buy a piece of real estate, brick and mortar, tangible. You're buying for the long term. So, I bought my current home a couple of years ago, just as the interest rates started going up. And, did I pay higher than probably what it's worth today? Yeah, I did. But so did a lot of people. But when you buy real estate, you're in it for the long term. We talk about our parents and not even that far back. My parents are a lot older, but even younger parents in their 50s with 20-year-old kids, or mid 50s with 20-year-old kids, they got married in the early 2000s. They didn't buy real estate knowing that things are going to skyrocket. They bought real estate because they had to live in a house. And just so happened that they paid $500,000 for their house. Now it's worth 1.3, for instance. You buy when you got to buy, and that's just the luck of the draw. They're not savvy investors. They're not walking around pounding their chest. And if they are, they're liars. They're liars. You buy a house when you need to buy a house, if you can afford it. If you can afford to buy a house, such as this climate, where it's a little bit more difficult than it was 20 years ago, obviously, you got to buy and you hold. Any smart stock investor, I don't play the stocks, but any smart stock investor, they buy to hold. And you're in it for the long run. And just like real estate, especially real estate, buy and hold. So who cares what I paid for my home 2 years ago? If I'm in this home for 10 more years, that number is going to be irrelevant. Now, I can't predict what's going to happen in 10 years from now, but again, it's an investment. A home is an investment, right? It doesn't come without risk. So stop watching the news, buy when you have to buy. And especially this time, I know a lot of people are like, and Christmas is coming and they're in Christmas mode and nobody wants to put their house on the market because, you're having people over. You don't want to be disturbed with all that. Not a lot of showings anyways, but it is a good time to put your home. There's always a good time to put out your home on the market. And why I say this is actually a good time, this is just, my opinion, is because let's say you sell your house in December or late December, early January. Let's say you do a deal on New Year's Day, because it has happened. I know it has, I know it does, because not everybody, celebrates. So let's say you do a deal on New Year's Day, 90 days to close. February, March, April. You're into the spring, so you're moving in the spring just towards the end of the school year. So it's not a bad time to put your house in the market, because the serious buyers, it doesn't matter the season. The serious buyers that are looking for the quality home, that are going to try and get a better deal, they're going to come forward with stronger offers at this time. They're the only ones going to come with offers, people that actually want to buy. The tire kickers really aren't, because they're like, again, they're in holiday mode and they're not thinking, Christmas parties and all that fun stuff that happens this time of year. But for the serious buyers, They don't care. They find the home they want, whether it's January, December, November, June, or April. They find the home they want, they're going to buy it. So don't, and again, this is my opinion, don't listen to realtors say it's not a good time to put your house on the market. It's always a good time. When you want to sell and you're serious about selling and you're realistic about the price you're going to put it on the market for, then it's a good time to sell. You know, yeah, it's going to take longer to sell. It's going to take longer no matter the season. This is particularly slower, but no matter what, in the economic conditions we're in, it's going to take longer to sell. Not to say things aren't selling. Yeah, there's a higher amount of inventory. It's a buyer's market. So why aren't the buyers out there buying homes? Well, because they're watching the news and their fear and the tariffs and all this political nonsense they're listening to. It's crippling fear. But if you can buy anytime and hold for the long term. Because again, real estate's an investment, and investments don't come without risk. But at least you have a tangible asset, such as a home, that will over time be worth more. Now, again, I can't predict the future, but that's the cycle. If you watch cycles and you go back 30, 40 years, there's a cycle. It goes up and it comes down. It goes up and it comes down. It's no different now. Things don't magically change. You know, what did the Bank of Canada do after, you know, the 5-year hold on the world? Well, what they do, they gradually increase the rates. They couldn't shock the economy by just jacking the rates. They had to do it gradually, which is why we saw prices slowly come down. You know, yes, you can say it's a political game and all that, but forget the politics for a second. The banks know that they can't just shock like what they did 5 years ago. They just dropped the rates and all you know, shit hit the fan, for lack of a better term. They gradually brought it back up slowly because they knew mortgages were maturing and people had to adjust slowly. And that's what they're doing. So now we're seeing more realistic prices on homes. Yeah, some sellers still think their homes are worth what they were 5 years ago. They're not. They're just not. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and lie and say, oh, they're still, no. A $2 million home is not worth $2 million today. It's probably worth 1.7, 1.5, depending on the home though, right? You have to look at the home and run the comps. But for the most part, a $2 million home is not realistically worth $2 million today. And sellers have to recognize that. If it's close to 2 million, yeah. But if it's a 1.7 home and it's on the market for 2 million, it's not going to sell. That's an unrealistic seller. So again, real estate is an investment. If you want to invest in real estate, it's not adverse to risk. There's risk involved with every investment, real estate being the safest one. So that being said, have a great day. If you have any questions, you guys know how to find me. I'm everywhere. Take it easy.